So this is blank as I'm starting here because I rearranged my folders. I was starting to get too many images for one folder. So in my images folder, I've now changed it so I have several separate folders for the different kinds of images that I'm using. And that's similar to how the template was originally set up with assets, then IMG, and then several folders, seeing as I had a separate one for the logos and the portfolios and the about page and things like that. So it's a smart thing to do. You just have to remember to fix things after you do it, because if you don't, then you're going to have, of course, problems here. So starting at the top, trying to fix things, my logos, so I put the logos in here. So let's go and see how those are attached again. So some logos are going to be in the HTML, or some images. So here's the first one with the navbar brand in the images folder. If I add on my logos slash, that brings that image back in, and of course your developer tools will help you remember where it's supposed to be. So my image for this background is in the styles. On line 42 is where that starts. So go to the styles. Nope, not that one. My styles. Line 42. And this is going to be a background image. I don't remember. BGS. So if you add another folder, you just have to add the folder name and another slash. Okay, so there's the nuts. And then going down, I have my portfolio images, and that is placed in the HTML. So it's portfolio singular. And going down here, I can find that. So portfolio grid, item 1, add portfolio to that. And that did not do it. Images, portfolio slash pecans.jpeg. Oh, I changed the name beyond that even. I added a P dash just so that they would be consistent. That was before I decided to put them in a portfolios folder, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with pecans and change the name here. And this particular file was the original one from the web, which is a JPEG. I'm going to change that to a JPG, and that means I'll have to change this one. So there are some files that you can manually change like that. It's risky. That can cause a problem. So I don't normally recommend changing the file ending manually, but going from a JPEG to a JPG, that's a safe one to do. Manually change it from a PSD or a GIF to a JPEG, that would be disastrous. And again, I'm trying to make sure that all of my image names, all my file names have lowercase letters and dashes or underscores, so they're all legal items. So now these are all plural, that'll help me remember. So I'm going to copy my address for that one. and put in the other ones. Almonds. So a lot of times it's just easier if you copy the whole line. Peanuts. Walnuts. And I don't remember really the order that I want these in. I don't really need them in an order, but you may want to include a number in your file name if that does matter. Cashews and pistachios. So all these images were saved out of the same Photoshop layered file, which means that they will all be exactly the same square shape, which lets me maintain my grid. And they're all a very similar attitude photo with the cutout white background but still showing a shadow. And you can see better the grid, of course, when we pull that out. And because they're all the same size, it forms a nice grid that way. Okay, I think that's all the images I had bothered to place. So looking at these images, which I didn't do anything with, the image itself is square, but you make it look like a rounded image by adding, they did it by using this rounded circle class on the image, and that rounded circle is just a border radius of 50% of the image. So if I turn that off, you see the square, and behind it they have, I guess, another shape, and that shape is a timeline image with a border radius of 100%. Oh, so this is my copy of it. So when I turn it off here, then the original one is just doing its thing. There we go. So if I turn that off, then we see the full thing without the border. With the border, without the border. So I'd have to make sure to, in a case like that, I would have to leave the border radius in, but I would change it to 0%, as opposed to just not having the border radius in there. So let's go ahead and put that back on, remembering that I have it in my style sheet already on line 261. So I'd have to change the content of the image in my HTML file. So I called it circles, then I have full broken nuts, coarse nuts, fine nuts, and medium nuts, all with a full dash. So that's in the HTML file and the About section. So here's the About section. And here's that first image. Not broken, broken nuts.jpg. Let's verify that that works. Okay, so there it is. It's defaulted back to my circular styles. So again, I'm going to copy the address that I did for the first one and then just change the name of the file. Course, I think, was one. Fine. What was the other one? Broken, coarse, fine, and medium. It really helps you place images if you're consistent with your file naming. Okay, so there's my 4 images there. So again, if I don't want those circles, I'll go to the style sheet. Those are the timeline images. Okay, timeline image. So border radius, and there's the size. I commented out the size for some reason. So let's take off the border radius by, instead of just deleting it, making it 0%. That shows us that it had a background color. Right under it there. So again, I can't just turn off the background color because that makes the other style sheets one work. So I have to do a non-color there, or make sure that the size is not going to trigger. Let's see, I'll have to turn off the border. And again, I'll have to do the border, not just turn it off, but do a different declaration so it gets rid of it. Okay, so if you're trying to override a color with a non-color, you can do transparent as a color name. And I'll do a border 0 pixels, and that will get rid of that. Okay, so this way I have just my circle without a border. And if I want, why are these still showing us circles? Let's see. So the rounded circle class, I don't have my equivalent. And if I get rid of that, it will go back to a square. So I'll put this after it. And to counteract it, I will have to do border radius 0, not just get rid of it. And that way I can see my square image instead. It's still a little bit small. Max width 100%, so it's the percent of the parent. Let me make sure I know why they're the size they are. So it's here in the timeline image, the width and the height. So I could make those bigger. I'm going to uncomment this and just change it to 100, just to prove to myself that I can see it. So with this layout, there's a bit of, some problems with that once I do it to 100, because of the way it's laid out. It was carefully measured how far over to indent this other block. So here's the text itself, the separate parts, but the whole block goes this far, and it has a padding on the left edge of 100 pixels. So if my image is 100 pixels and it goes 100 pixels, it doesn't work. If it was 80 like it was, that left me 20 pixels. So the padding is always, when there's a series of 4, it's top, right, bottom, and left. So to change that left one, I would have to do this, and that would give me, oh, interesting. So only half of them changed, because the other ones, timeline, LI, timeline panel, but then what are the other ones? Timeline inverted, timeline panel. So there's 2 separate classes for getting, and that's because of the the alternating thing that they were doing. So I can't just do one of them that way. I'd have to do the other one that way so that it would undo its thing. So I'm not really crazy about this inverted timeline thing. I thought it'd be better just to simplify the whole thing. So that's one thing I wanted to try doing, and this might be a good time to do it. But if you were wanting to keep it the way that it is and use that back and forth thing, then we should copy that style so we know how to take advantage of it. Part of the problem with the inverted thing is it's also dependent on the width of the screen. So we see it, if it's larger, we see that at media min width 768, it, instead of being alternating, it puts them all on one side. So maybe I will just go ahead and change that here to get rid of the alternating thing and make it simpler. So let's see how we can undo that. No, I'll show you how to fix this first, and in a different recording I'll undo it. That would probably be better. So let's go back to where I was. Let's refresh this. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do this back to the way it was with the 80. That'll be simpler where we are. So I need to do the inverted ones as well. And these are positioned differently. So I wonder if the reason I had that positioning thing commented was so I wouldn't have that problem with them both doing their thing. So I would need to get this stuff to not do the inverted position. I'm not seeing what I need to on this. So that whole block is the LI. And the timeline inverted is the one that's showing correctly now, but the main timeline is the one that's all weird. I think I need to do a separate recording just for this.